Hello, welcome to another edition of the Wiseguy Show, right here on the Writer Albert Lanier channel here on YouTube. Of course, I'm not a wise guy, but for all intents and purposes, while I'm here on YouTube, I fill the role in an excellent fashion. Extraordinarily, I would say. Anyway, in this edition of the Wiseguy Show, we are, of course, going to deal with Week 14 of the NFL. And we're going to get through the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, as they used to say on ABC's Wide World of Sports back in the 70s and 80s. So let's start out with a game that probably most people thought would go another way. That is Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars wind up winning the game. And Daniel Jones leaves the game, I think, because of a torn Achilles. That's the word that I heard before I came on to do the show. And I don't know whether he's going to be out for the season. I don't know if he's going to be out for a week or two. But this is terrible timing for the Colts. And this is a terrible loss. I had said before, some people had noted before, the Colts, they thought the Colts should panic, or it's panic button time for the Colts. At this point, it's panic button time for the Colts. They're going to have to find a way to win, probably without Daniel Jones. And if he's out for the year, that's where I think, and this is one of the reasons why I said Jonathan Taylor is more important than Daniel Jones. And I don't mean to demean Daniel Jones or say he's unimportant at all. He's he's the league leading rusher. And I think he's a big reason why they've won games at times. So I think with Jonathan Taylor, the Colts still have a chance, certainly a chance to get into the postseason. The rookie quarterback had come in and done okay, but the Jaguars, of course, ran away with this game. They just played well during this game. It might have been a close game. Maybe the Colts would have won if Daniel Jones had been in. It's hard to say. But right now, the Colts have to be concerned, or beyond concern right now. I think the time for concern actually is gone. Hello to those in the chat. The time for concern is gone. It's outright crisis management time. And I think what the Colts have to do is their defense has to begin to step up and make plays and start to create opportunities. I think maybe that wasn't as much of the case prior to this game. I think you had a good, solid offense. The defense did its job. And that would be it. But I think right now, when you look at the Colts, the defense has to step up. And they're going to have to make things happen if the Colts are going to have a chance to get into the playoffs. I mean, he still won a lot of games, but I think they're at 5 losses right now. They got to at least win a couple more games to put themselves in a position to make it to the playoffs. They're going to have to find a way. I mean, I think they're no longer on easy street. They've had some tough games. The schedule's gotten tougher. And I think they face the Jaguars again. And I think the defense is going to have to step up. I think special teams is going to have to find a way to contribute in their way. And I think their offense is going to have to really dig deep. And I think if it means going with more of a run-oriented offense with Jonathan Taylor and some of your other wideouts, you might have to do that. But the Colts are going to have to come up with something right now. The Jaguars are a team that they're better this year. You look at their new coach, Liam Cohen. He's done a decent job. He's done a pretty good job with this team. But I really am not sold on the Jaguars. I still think that I think I called them a good bad team. I think they're fundamentally a bad team, but they're good this year. I think they're playing well this year. And I think, this was a good game for them, though. They played the Colts fairly well, but it was easy. Um, the Saints beat the Buccaneers. And the thing about the Buccaneers is they're in a position now, they got to win these games. I mean, the Saints are not a great team. I think it's Schuff or Shrug. I can't remember how his name is pronounced. The quarterback on the Saints. He's a pretty good QB. He's not great. It's hard, he's only played a few weeks, but he's somebody who's capable of playing very well. You could tell that this guy might develop into a good quarterback. And I did a pretty good job in this game against the Buccaneers. And it's been really weird with the Saints this year. They played teams fairly well at times. They played the Bills very well. They had a good win against the Giants. So it's kind of weird to see it, but the Buccaneers, they can't afford to drop games right now. They're a 7-win team. They've got Carolina, that's another 7-win team. Right now, the way, and I said this before, and I'll say it again, if the Buccaneers don't find a way to get some more wins, and Carolina does, Carolina might win that division. Weird as it might seem. It just is weird. So an interesting loss there. Miami beat the Jets. I think that was expected, but you look at this Miami team, it's like a switch was turned on and this team got jolted. It was like something out of the novel and, of course, the movie Frankenstein. It's I don't know if it's the coach. I don't know if it's the coaches. I don't know if it's the players themselves. But this team's come alive. Miami is playing the way I thought they should have played at the beginning of the year. They had a couple of good games. They've had some good games. They had a game against, not only their win against the Bills, because they played the Bills twice, but their first game against the Bills, they played a nice tight game and they lost on the turnover, really, interception. But you look at this Miami team, this team in this game was like an offensive machine. They scored like 3 touchdowns in the first half, 21 points. And you're looking at Waddle, you're looking at HN. These guys are now producing. They're running well. They're getting touchdowns. This is a team that offensively is looking sharp. This is a team that is, if they win, what did they win now? I guess they're 6-7 with this win over the Jets. If they continue on this pace, they may get a winning season out of this. Even if they go 500, they've resurrected their season. They got a lot to be proud of in Miami. And this is a team that was left for dead. Nobody expected this team really to maybe do anything other than win a couple games. And this is one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Nobody wants to say that, but it's true. Offensively and overall, this is one of the hottest teams in the NFL. And I would say really one of the hottest teams in the AFC. Now, I don't think they're going to catch up with the Bills and beat the Bills and win the division. But this is a team that I don't know what they're going to do next year, but they got a chance at becoming, they're finally playing up to potential. And we could argue, yeah, they should have done that, but they didn't. So that's what they should be doing. And so this was, I'm looking at Miami and, finally, this is a team that's getting HN going. It's getting Waddle going. Tua's able to throw fairly effectively. And I wanted to get down a couple of more games before I leave. The Steelers beat the Ravens, and I think this was not only a get-back game for the Steelers, I think it was a game that established. There's a lot of hype about the Steelers. I mean, everybody looked at that Bills game and said, "Oh man, what a horrible team! Team is just pathetic." When you look at the way they played against the Ravens, there's nothing pathetic about it. Aaron Rodgers was throwing effectively DK Metcalf. He even ran in for a touchdown. Last week he got beat up by that Bills team. But they rebounded. And the problem with the Steelers is that they need to get a couple more wins. The problem is it's been an up and down season for them in regards to win losses. They have a really good game, and then they have a game that they end up losing. And sometimes they play extremely well, and then they just have something horrible happen, like they did against the Bills. They have to put this together. They have to find a way to be consistent. I think that's one of the biggest problems with the Steelers. It's not their quote unquote identity; it's consistency. That's what they have to be able to do. But they managed to hold on. They had a good victory here against the Ravens. They looked good offensively, at least looked better. And they started taking a couple chances down the field. Aaron Rodgers threw to DK Metcalf deep in an early play for reception. Sometimes you have to take some chances. But another another game I would just note is the Commanders Vikings. I normally wouldn't do this, but the Vikings demolished the Commanders. And again, you just look at the Commanders. This is a team that played so well against Denver. They had their best game of the year, frankly, great game of the season. But again, you look at this team. This team it doesn't have the will. They brought Jaden Daniels back in. I think that was a mistake. They had a valiant effort against the Denver Broncos last week. But here they just got destroyed by the Vikings, who themselves were destroyed last week. So that was a get back to form. I won't even say get back to form game. It was like get on, create some form for themselves kind of game for the Vikings, who, this is probably one of J.J. McCarthy's better games. Finally, I want to go and talk about the Bills-Bengals game, which to me was the game of the week thus far. This is another, I've said this, and I'm going to keep saying this to the end of the season. This year, you have at least one great game per week. That's just the way this season has been. And this was the great game thus far of the week. This was a great slugfest offensively. It was what I call winter wonderland game because it was snowing in Buffalo. And more importantly, it's what I would call a PGID, playoff game in December, because of how important it is, because of the stakes. And you look at the intensity and the scoring and the way the performances on both sides. I think what happened with the Bengals is the dual interceptions just destroyed them. And the Bills defense did what I felt that they had to, which is step up and make some plays. If the Bills are going to have any success in the postseason, they've got to do what they did in this game. And, of course, Josh Allen had a touchdown. He played very well. If the Bills really succeed this year, if they want to make it to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to play as well as they did in this game, and maybe as well as they did in the Buccaneers game. And I would say as well as they did in the first game against the Ravens, the first game of the season against the Ravens. So that was a wonderful game. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube. Go check it out on YouTube or anywhere else you can find the NFL. And that's it for another edition of the Wiseguy Show. The Wiseguy Show, getting you wise to what's happening on YouTube. Bye, folks. Take it easy.